April 14th, 1912, 11:40 p.m. The North Atlantic is calm, the sky is clear, and the temperature has dropped near freezing. Aboard the largest moving object ever built by human hands, a lookout named Frederick Fleet peers into the darkness from the crow's nest. He has no binoculars. They were left behind in Southampton. Suddenly, a shape emerges from the black water ahead. He rings the bell 3 times and phones the bridge with 4 words that will echo through history. Iceberg, right ahead. 37 seconds later, the RMS Titanic strikes the iceberg. Within 2 hours and 40 minutes, the ship that was called Unsinkable will be gone, along with more than 1,500 lives. This is the story of how it happened and why. The early 20th century was an era obsessed with scale, speed, and engineering triumph. Shipping companies competed fiercely for transatlantic passengers, and none more so than the White Star Line and its rival, Cunard. In 1907, White Star Line chairman J. Bruce Ismay and shipbuilder Lord William Peary conceived a plan to build 3 sister ships, the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic, each designed to outclass Cunard's fastest liners, not through speed, but through unmatched size and luxury. Construction of the Titanic began on March 31st, 1909, at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. The ship took over 2 years to build, employing roughly 3,000 workers. When completed, it measured 882 feet 9 inches in length and weighed approximately 46,328 gross tons, the largest ship afloat at the time. It contained 16 watertight compartments, designed so that the ship could stay afloat even if up to 4 were flooded. This engineering feature led to the ship being widely, though never officially by its builders, described as unsinkable. The Titanic offered 3 passenger classes. First class included a gymnasium, a swimming pool, a Turkish bath, and a grand staircase crowned by a glass dome. Second class rivaled first-class accommodations on other ships. Third class, though modest, was considered comfortable by the standards of the era, drawing many immigrants hoping to build new lives in America. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic departed Southampton, England, bound for New York City, under the command of Captain Edward J. Smith, a veteran of White Star Line, with over 40 years of experience at sea. The ship carried an estimated 2,224 passengers and crew. Among them were some of the wealthiest people in the world, including businessman John Jacob Astor IV and Macy's department store co-owner Isidor Straus, alongside hundreds of immigrants from Ireland, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe seeking passage in third class. After stops in Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, Ireland, the Titanic set out across the open Atlantic. In the days that followed, the ship received at least 6 iceberg warnings from other vessels, including one from the Californian just hours before the collision. Some of these warnings reached the bridge, others did not, lost amid the demands of managing wireless communications for passengers. At the time of the collision, the Titanic was traveling at approximately 22.5 knots, near its maximum speed, through a region known to contain icy. Historians have long debated why the ship did not reduce speed, pointing to a combination of competitive pressure, confidence in the ship's design, and prevailing maritime customs of the era. The iceberg did not strike the Titanic head-on. Instead, it scraped along the starboard side, buckling the hull and popping rivets below the waterline, across roughly 300 feet. 5 of the 16 watertight compartments began flooding immediately. Thomas Andrews, the ship's chief designer, was aboard and quickly determined the grim mathematics. The ship could survive damage to 4 compartments, but not 5. He informed Captain Smith that the Titanic had, at most, 2 hours left. The evacuation that followed exposed the ship's greatest flaw, not in its hull, but in its preparation. The Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for approximately 1,178 people, roughly half of those aboard, despite legally exceeding the outdated safety regulations of the time, which based lifeboat requirements on a ship's tonnage rather than its passenger capacity. Crew members, lacking sufficient lifeboat drills, launched many boats below capacity in the early confusion. Lifeboat number 1, for example, departed with only 12 people aboard, in a boat built for 40. The ship's band, led by violinist Wallace Hartley, famously continued playing music on deck in an effort to maintain calm among passengers. By 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, the Titanic broke apart and slipped beneath the surface. Water temperatures were recorded at approximately 28 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to cause fatal hypothermia within 15 to 30 minutes. Of the estimated 2,224 people aboard, more than 1,500 died. Survival rates differed sharply by class. Over 60% of first-class passengers survived, compared to roughly 25% of third-class passengers, a disparity attributed to ship layout, access to boat decks, and the chaos of the evacuation. The RMS Carpathia, responding to distress signals, sent via the newly required wireless telegraph, arrived roughly 2 hours after the sinking and rescued approximately 705 survivors from lifeboats. News of the disaster spread rapidly by telegraph, shocking a world that had believed such technological catastrophe impossible. Public inquiries followed in both the United States and Britain. The United States Senate inquiry, led by Senator William Alden Smith, and the British Wreck Commissioners inquiry, led by Lord Mersey, examined questions of speed, lifeboat capacity, and the conduct of nearby ships, particularly the Californian, which was reportedly within sight of the Titanic, but did not respond to distress rockets. These investigations led to sweeping reforms. In 1914, the first International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, known as SOLAS, was adopted, mandating lifeboat space for all aboard, continuous wireless communication, and the establishment of the International Ice Patrol to monitor iceberg activity in the North Atlantic, a body that continues to operate today. For 73 years, the wreck of the Titanic lay undiscovered, resting approximately 12,500 feet below the surface of the North Atlantic. On September 1st, 1985, a joint French-American expedition led by oceanographer Robert Ballard located the wreck, split into two main sections roughly 2,000 feet apart on the ocean floor. Since its discovery, the site has been the subject of numerous expeditions, scientific studies, and legal disputes over the recovery of artifacts. Marine biologists have documented that a metal-consuming bacterium is gradually breaking down the ship's structure, and some researchers estimate the wreck may eventually collapse entirely within the coming decades. The Titanic's story has endured not only as a maritime tragedy, but as a cultural touchstone, a symbol of technological hubris, human resilience, and the fragile line between confidence and catastrophe. More than a century later, it remains one of the most studied and remembered disasters in modern history. A reminder that no achievement of engineering is beyond the reach of nature, chance, and human error.